for Sammy Beavers!
Sammy, it's still amazing to me that in racing, the great crowd appeal that you have. The last couple mall shows we did together, you know, now here, the people never forget you. I mean, it's just amazing to me how many people love the great Sammy Beavers yet. And I'll tell you what, so do I. You're one of the great guys in racing, Sam. And I'll tell you what, you're like an entertainer to the fans out here. And that's what it's all about. Folks, Jerry Freed said it best years ago. My entertainers are here for this dirt track to put on a show for you. And Sammy Beavers was one of those guys. And Sammy, I want to tell you, the races that I've watched you compete in, I mean, you know how to get a car from the middle of the pack, the back of the pack, to the front of the pack. And that, to me, is one talent that only the great drivers have. Because the other guys, they'll just stay in line and run with the boys. Sammy, tell us the year in racing that you decided to just either drag out an old Cooper sedan and start to go racing.
Well, it was actually in, I used to go to Flemington and save box seats for my nephew and my cousins and stuff like that. And then some guys were going around and I said, you know, I think I could go faster than that. So we built a car with a 53 Mercury flathead into it. And we took it to Flemington, and to be honest with you now, I took it out, and the sweat was rolling off me like you wouldn't believe.
Like today, right?
Like today, one of the guys said, what do you think? I said, I need a can of beer. And they gave me a can of beer, and the official seen it and said, well, you can't race. And I said, oh my God. And that was actually my first race, and that was at Flemington. Then I went to Nazareth. And we did very good at Nazareth, and then there was a guy up there, was a young guy, he wasn't too well known, it was called Mario Andretti. And he was leading the race, and I was running second, but my car would break up in the corner, it would go buh, 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 so I could hold it to the floor. And I'm looking at this guy, he had a Hudson, and I'm gaining on him, but a yellow light come on, and naturally I'm only looking 20 feet in front of my car, because I'm just driving like you couldn't believe, you know? And the yellow light come on, and I went by this guy, and I thought I had to lead. Well, meanwhile, there was an accident on the racetrack. I come around and hit the accident, went end over end, and back then you had no pants or uniforms. So I'm trying to get out of the car, and every time I stick my head out the window, somebody punched me between the eyes, you know? So I'm wondering what in the heck is going on here, you know what I mean? And they said, you're a nut, you know what I mean? And then finally they got me all apart and everything was all right.
You know, the fans out there, you know, you rarely hear these stories, don't you? You know, when you read the Area Order Racing News or some other papers, you never hear the stories you hear when you come out to the Flemington Fairgrounds, or when, Sammy, how about it, when you come up to the studio with us and you sit in there for a couple hours. Those are the great stories, fans. You guys have got to turn us on Monday nights and hear some great live racing stories about all these famous guys. When they come into the studio, we don't have any better shows. And I'm telling you that is the facts. And Sammy will tell you, when he comes to our studio, we just have the greatest time. 2 hours of raising hell. And Master Jack lets it all happen. That's the truth of the whole matter. You know, Sammy, you've been in some of the greatest rides probably that a lot of drivers have ever had an opportunity to sit into, you know. And tell us, you know, without hurting some owners' feelings, what do you think was probably one of the greatest cars, besides stuff you built yourself, that you had an opportunity to race in?
Well, I actually didn't build too many cars. My cousin and all that went there, and I went there and overseen cars and stuff like that. But when I started out, I got to admit, the 43, they see me run my 77A, which we did good at. And then I got in a Jim Horton 43, and he was a young guy, and I was a young guy, and we got going, and the little Jimmy used to sit on my lap and trying to like steer the car. So then I left there and I went to the 13, and we did very good in the Jim Ford 13. And then I went from there and I went to Tony Roberti number 97. A lot of people don't have pictures of these cars. And I raced him 7 times. We won 6, and I got a second out of 7, but he had to retire. He started getting health problems. So then I went to the 81, which Billy Osmond had a lot of success in, but then they had a lot of problems, and Billy left the car, and they called me up. And then my cousin went down, and we did a lot of races, you know, and we won a lot of races. We had a good time and this and that. And then I went back and forth with different cars, on and off. But I had a good career. But I will say, racing, if you want to be a champion of racing, you gotta really enjoy it. And no matter what you are, like if you're a golf player, some people are just naturals at different things. It could be bowling, it could be golf, it could be racing. And if you're a natural at it, it just comes to you automatically, and it's a great feeling.
You know, it's kind of in my mind that you would say that, because you know all of the great drivers today, when you talk to them, and we just had a great conversation with the noted race car driver Bill Wimble, and you know Bill is kind of a humble guy. You got to get a chance to read his book, but you know there's some really great stories in there, and it's a story about life more than it is about racing. And Sammy, every time we have you on, you know, it's more, yeah, we hear your story about racing, but we hear your story about your life. And I'll tell you what, it's so good that we've got to know you, watch you race, you've entertained us, and we're damn proud of it, to tell you the truth. And there's no other guy who can say it probably except for my brother Steve over there, but here he is, Sammy Beavers! Thanks again, Sammy, for being a great part of this Flemington reunion.